Music, it has been pointed out, is a universal language that frequently unites persons of diverse backgrounds, arrests boredom, and soothes those suffering from oppression or anxiety. Thus, it is hardly accidental that a large number of inmates in Maryland's correctional system have turned to music as a means of expressing themselves, developing their talents, and working toward a better future. It is, they point out, one positive approach toward the solution of their problems, a way of helping convince society, which strives so hard to forget them, that they are people, not animals. Moreover, they add, we are people with determination, people seeking a new direction, people who want to help ourselves.
Mad brothers know his name. Mad brothers know his name. Mad brothers know his name. Mad brothers know his name.
Lord Finesse got something for your eardrums. Back on the scene, long time no hear from. It's the funky man, the brother with the same time. I've been coolin', a body and some change now. So hand over the microphone, cause it's my turn. The brother with the fade, half moon and long sideburns. Nice doping, keep the girl scoping. Say the funky shit and get all the niggas open. So heed that, don't try to yap and give me feedback. I'm getting that ass, believe that, can it? I steal your show like a bandit. I get paid while you're broke like mass transit. You're not as smooth as this, so what can you do to this? Brothers need to stop and step with that foolishness. I'm the type to interrupt your party. I don't need a phone to reach out and touch somebody. Give me a mic that's just as good as one. Leave the party as what you whack MCs should've done. Cause y'all starving, I'm living extra large and I'm swinging shit as if my name was Tarzan. Yeah, cause I'm on some old new shit. Got more styles than you see in a kung fu flick. Mics I seize, wax opponents off with ease. I'm more deadlier than a venereal disease. So think twice, those who think I'm a fool. I'm shining more than a tire full of armor ore. It's Lord Finesse and I got shit planned. Hot damn, it's the return of the funky man.
Mad brothers know his name. Mad brothers know his name.
Brothers get cash, but I get way more. In the 90s, I'm getting paid for rhyming in the 21st century. When asked who the funkiest, you better mention me. I go all out while a lot of crews be frontin'. I know and they know that they can't do me nothing, cause I'm smooth and while the skills I utilize. Lyrics so advanced, you think my brain was computerized. So who needs a partner or a sidekick when it comes to being funky? I got all that old fly shit, the rough and rugged, plus the pimp smooth rhymes. I polish off opponents like a shoe shine. They be frontin' like they on a crazy tip, trying to hang but they soften and baby shit. Frontin' like they wild with they bullshit style. I put they ass on trial, pull a card and they foul. I'm hardcore, but I still keep the scene pumping. So all that singing and dancing, that shit don't mean nothing. MCs up on Lord Finesse lately. Some of them hate me, think they could take me. I'll take on some of them, bring a whole ton of them. I take them all on and stomp each and every one of them. I just chill, relax and flaunt my cash. You wanna riff, I be quick to stomp that ass and let you know that you can't get with this. Come on, come all and get burnt with the quickness. Greater creator, drop stupid data. If I ever got served, it had to be by a waiter. I lounge in the rest until I get my song done. I plan to be straight with papes in the long run, cause when it comes around, I give you more than you ask for. Bring a whole task force, I rhyme my fucking ass off. I stand in command with the mic in my hand. Oh shit, it's the return of the funky man.
Mad brothers know his name. Mad brothers know his name. Mad brothers know his name. Mad brothers know his name.
This is George Rogers welcoming you to Part 3 of WMAR-TV's 5-part series, Bars to Progress. In this segment, we will examine some of the positive activities taking place throughout Maryland's correctional system in what are known as self-help groups. Altogether, there are about 30 of these organizations in the system. There seems to be a great deal of evidence to support the fact that because these self-help activities are inaugurated by inmates themselves, they're actually more beneficial than many of the formal rehabilitation programs. What then are some of these organizations, and how do they come into being? Well, most come into being, of course, because of the day-in, day-out boredom of prison life. confined within the same unchanging boundaries, confined also by regimentation, some of which is necessary and some merely convenient to the staff, many inmates search for an outlet, something to belong to, some means of expressing or bettering themselves. Some find it in books by setting up their own reading programs. Some may try to absorb as much information as they can find on any topic of interest. Others strive systematically to gain high school or college credits. Some individuals may attempt to develop a unique skill as a means of getting through the days and weeks, hoping at the same time that that skill will later turn out to be useful. Others, going it alone, may write. Confronted with a life sentence, inmate William Bryant has written short stories and plays since turning to the typewriter in 1967. One of the plays, Prayer for a Wind, has been performed at the Maryland Penitentiary, and Bryant hopes to expand it into a full-length play eventually. Others may turn to the visual arts. The correctional system of Maryland has no lack of artists, many of whom are self-taught. This inmate, however, teaches a class in painting technique at the Maryland Penitentiary and hopes to use his talents when he is released. Others with the same aspiration have sold paintings and exhibited them at the Morris Mechanic Theater lobby. The interest shown by the theater operators is a source of special delight to the prison artists, who all too often feel that society has simply written them off as losers. Man is a gregarious creature, however, even while in prison. That is why so many self-help groups have grown up over the years. This large room, for example, is the central meeting hall for self-help group activities at the Maryland House of Correction, Jessup. Besides the two musical groups, Sounds and the Left Bank Jazz Society, there are many other organizations with a variety of credos and acronymic titles. SAND, for instance, stands for Seeking a New Direction. UNDER, for United Network of Dedicated Equality Rebuilders. Others include the Seventh Step Foundation, which seeks to instill a new feeling of self-respect in ex-offenders. The Frontiers Club, which seeks to eradicate some of the false conceptions of penal residence embraced by society, and a chapter of the Islamic Brotherhood. Altogether at Jessup, about 600 inmates of the 1,500-man population have some connection with a self-help organization. One of the most active of the various groups is the Jaycees, with chapters in each institution. It is a tribute to the attraction of the Jaycees that these two inmates of the Maryland Correctional Training Center actually delayed their parole so they would be able to serve their complete terms of office with the Jaycee organization.
Good evening, gentlemen. I'd like to call this meeting to order by calling Nathaniel Winsor leading the Jaycee Creed.
We believe that faith in God is meaning and purpose in human life. That brotherhood of man transcends sovereignty of nations. That economic justice can best be won by free men through free enterprise. That the government should build laws rather than men. There is a great treasure lies in human personality.
It is somewhat strange, of course, to hear men reciting a creed which lauds the brotherhood of man and calls service to humanity the best work of life. Men who have been incarcerated for violent crimes, who are serving sentences ranging from a year or two to life. But such are the sentiments of the Jaycee Creed, and each of these men, who together form the Old Town or Maryland Penitentiary chapter of the Junior Chamber of Commerce, feels that being a Jaycee has taught him how to find a way out of the penal system for good.
At this time, I'd like to call one of the participants in to speak up.
One of the leaders of the Maryland Penitentiary Jaycee chapter is Malcolm Christensen, inmate number 8476. Since being incarcerated, Christensen has managed to divert his energies from trying to beat the system to becoming one of the prime movers of the self-help group at the penitentiary. In 1965, 2 years before Mal Christensen was sentenced to a grand total of 230 years for a list of crimes ranging from assault to kidnapping, the first Jaycee chapter was founded in the Maryland prison system. In 1968, Christensen began to work with that chapter, and has helped it win award after award for meritorious public service. During the past 2 years, for example, the Old Town chapter was named #1 penal chapter in the nation and #1 chapter in the state. Within the walls of Maryland's correctional institutions, with a total population of 5,000, there are but 350 to 400 Jaycees. At the Maryland Penitentiary, for example, there are just 85 members out of 750 inmates, but the small group makes its presence felt. One way it does so is by publishing The Lamplighter, a 20-page mimeographed magazine that specializes in articles about prison life, methods of improving the penal system, or just plain fiction or poetry. Current editor of The Lamplighter, 51-year-old George Gardner, a quiet, unassuming inmate who also plays the organ every Sunday for the institution's Protestant chapel service. A native of Washington, D.C., Gardner teaches a shorthand class 2 evenings a week at the penitentiary and has been editing the Jaycee publication for more than 3½ years. Despite its restrictive condition, an inmate Jaycee chapter conducts its business in much the same way as that of an outside chapter. Members pay the same dues as outside chapters. They have the same goals: improvement of the individual, development of the community, and encouragement of civic consciousness through meaningful and constructive action. So far, Malcolm Christensen believes the Jaycee process has been uniquely successful in rehabilitating inmates, and he cites a variety of reasons.
Okay, well, for example, I've been through the California prison system, and they have they're supposed to be one of the best advanced penal system in the country, and yet their recidivism is just about as high as it is across the nation. And they have programs for education, programs for vocational training, and this just doesn't seem to do the job as far as rehabilitation goes. The Jaycees, on the other hand, I believe, and why they're such a success is that they started bringing the community right into the prison. And I believe this is more important towards rehabilitating a person than giving them a trade or education. I think it's learning to re-socialize, learning to meet people, feel a part of the group, feel a part of society, something inside that is more important than learning a trade, going to school. Now, well, soon the Jaycees form an island within the institution that a man can belong to. For these meetings and these meeting with the outside people, he can get away from the normal routine of the institution. He can get away from the normal things that any institution has in it. And he finds more or less a kind of an island that he is really not inside the institution. He's with outside people. He's talking about constructive things, and pretty soon his whole thinking starts to change. And he starts, one of the problems this causes, one of the problems about being a Jaycee in prison, is because when he starts to change, his values, his thinking starts to change, and pretty soon a lot of the people that were his friends and the people that he might have been associating within the institution start looking at him maybe a little funny. He stop talking to him. And this is when it really becomes hard for a man to make the choice of whether he wants to be part of the culture within the prison, or if he wants to really try and do something for himself as to changing his values and changing himself, is when he starts having to take the pressures that normally can be put on a person that is trying to help himself in prison. And so it's pretty hard at times for the men in here to really get involved. It's not only the pressures, both sides. Also, not all the pressure comes from actually the inmate body either. You get a certain amount of pressure from the administration. You get a certain amount of people that really don't want to see the programs advance. Now, I'm not talking about the upper echelon or the people that are sincerely trying to change the system or to a more progressive type of a system, but you do have a few that would like to see the programs completed. In other words, lock them up at 4 o'clock and they don't have to worry about them until 8 o'clock the next morning. It's easier for them, and so you get a certain amount of pressure from the administration too. So really a lot of times a Jaycee is caught in the middle.
Although being caught in the middle seems to have an ominous ring, it is actually the Jaycee member's purpose to get himself in the middle of things. Indeed, the key to his success is involvement with both outside community and prison. Thus, the Jaycees are invariably busy people, usually working on a number of projects for themselves as well as outside chapters, often helping others with jobs such as printing, counting, addressing envelopes, or assembling booklets. In Maryland, the chief contact between inmate Jaycee and outside counterpart is James Flagg, owner and operator of the Glen Burnie Machine Shop. Since becoming institutional coordinator for the Jaycees, a non-paying position, Jim Flagg has visited each of the state institutions many times in order to extend and improve the program.
I became involved inside the institutions because the first time I went in because I was curious. I wanted to say I'd been to a penitentiary. After getting there and learning to talk to the men and finding that they had the same wants, the same fears, the same loves that I had, and finding that there were people rather than animals incarcerated in our jails or in our prisons, I decided to become a little bit more involved. That happened around 4 or 5 years ago, and since that time I've been involved in the institutions very much, and I have enjoyed it. It's been quite an experience for me, and I believe for everybody that's ever had the opportunity to work with the men inside.
Although the means by which every responsible man was exposed to love and discipline may not be apparent, careful investigation...
While still in the institution, Jaycee members often perform functions that are beneficial to segments of outside society. One includes working with the Maryland School for the Blind, recording school books and other material not available in Braille texts. 24-year-old Ed Nance, 1970s Jaycee of the Year, has been a member of the Old Town chapter since 1969. Though he will not be eligible for parole until 1976, Nance says he will continue to help the blind through this reading program, as well as work on a variety of other projects.
I've been on the committee for about a year and a half, and I know that the last fiscal year we taped about 37 or 38 books. Now, since I've been on this Tapes for the Blind, I've received a lot of self-confidence as far as my ability to communicate with people, because a lot of the material that they sent us to tape is very educational. See, I know that some of the books are ones in which you are taught how to speak in public. Some of the others has to do with spelling English, and even further they have a lot of good mystery novels that they take for the kids at the Maryland School for the Blind. The committee was voted last year's Committee of the Year and within our chapter, and to all of the guys, it was a tremendous success as far as the project itself is concerned. Most of the guys on the committee last year, you know, and if you listen to these guys, you can hear them say, well, man, it really makes me feel good to know that I can do something for somebody else rather than just do something for myself.
Another project of the Old Town Jaycee chapter is that of addressing and stuffing envelopes for charitable organizations. During 1970-71, the Jaycees handled more than 1.5 million pieces of correspondence for the Cerebral Palsy Foundation, March of Dimes, Tuberculosis Society, and Leukemia Foundation. This free assistance, no doubt, helped each charitable institution reach its fundraising goal. The Old Town Jaycees also raise funds through their own efforts in order to carry on community development projects. One fundraising affair is the Old Town Jaycee Musical Variety Show, which also brings entertainment to the entire inmate population and their families who are allowed to visit the institution on this particular evening. For the most part, the participants in the variety show are inmates who have formed their own musical groups, but they are frequently augmented by outsiders such as the 4 Go-Go Girls who entertained for the 1971 show. Some professional singers and dancers have also appeared at the state institutions in order to entertain the men. In addition to sponsoring the musical variety show, the Old Town Jaycee chapter helps to promote a state talent show, a junior miss pageant, works with a youth group known as the J-Teens, and holds a series of award ceremonies each year as a means of honoring outstanding chapter members.
All right, we here this evening to discuss model legislation on the chairman orientation class. The reason for it is because the date for it is right around the corner.
The Old Town Jaycees also do work which could be considered more serious. One such involvement is the Model Legislation Program, which seeks to teach the inmates how government functions. It also encourages participation in drawing up pieces of legislation, which have as their purpose the improvement of life within the penal system.
Legislation is an annual session held by all Jaycee chapters in the state of Maryland, the purpose of which is to come up with 2 bills to be used before the General Assembly with the purpose of possibly enacting them into law.
Gerald, I'd like to see a bill proposed like the one in which they have in California, which allows inmates under the discretion of officials of the institution to have a weekend pass.
All right, that sounds nice. Anybody else have any feedback on that in reference to what they think of that particular bill?
Every seminar you have, people seem to overlook the main issue or the problems that brought this into focus now. They don't attack the parents, they don't attack the churches. They've fallen down. They've lost a complete authoritative position.
You're speaking about attacking people. How can you attack somebody that don't know? It's not their fault, man.
Well, yes,
You better
the only thing the church
You keep talking about the church. We're not talking. What I'm saying is this.
Yeah, but the only
we're talking about judgment
done now is money. All
but
we
not,
do is build the.
No, what I'm saying is
to solve the problem, we're going to have to try to locate positive solutions.
Right.
And by throwing rocks at any of our institutions, such as the home or the church or the government, it seems to close more doors and more minds than it opens. And when we're talking about drug abuse, I think the youth...
The Jaycees are also strong on developing good character traits and leadership ability. Frequently, it is possible to combine this desire to improve the inmate as an individual with the desire to help the community. On this occasion, the open discussion of drug abuse serves the double purpose. Because of the inmate's first-hand knowledge of drugs, the rap session may lead to the formulation of some practical means of attacking the problem. At the same time, the men are learning to express themselves, communicate, and grow as individuals.
A mother, or even a kid that's 10 and 9 years old is just messing with drugs.
See, this is why we want to deal with the 18-year-old. The 11-year-old gets his example from the 12-year-old, and so on and so forth, all the way up the line. I got my example from somebody who was a little bit older and bigger than I was. Now, we can't do it, as Donald said, we can't solve all the problems of the world. This is why we're keying on one high school, Patterson Park High School, in this case.
We already dispute that.
This is, the idea is to get something started that will perpetuate. And in order to get it started, we have to have a sound foundation.
What about the kids under 18?
You're only speaking of kids under 18.
Everybody's throwing rocks at each other,
right.
But nobody, it's the same way all the time. Nobody wants to take the responsibility. Nobody wants to take the first step. Everybody's throwing rocks at each other, and the whole point is being missed.
Yeah, but see, in our main programming,
I'm saying, but the thing is, the tool is to throw rocks. I go along with that because somebody has to accept the responsibility.
Right.
But it's a way of throwing rocks at a person to make them accept the responsibility. See, that's just like trying to feed a newborn baby a steak. He just can't do it. He has to work himself into it.
It's another thing, you know.
Being a Jaycee in prison, of course, is not as easy as on the outside. Too often the man who joins this minority group finds himself moving against the grain of inmate thinking. But those who stick do so because they honestly feel it is their only chance. Most must face the realization that they have failed in school, at steady employment, marriage, and even being a criminal. But once they face this realization, it is easier to be accepted by society.
When I joined the Jaycees a year ago, I had just been paroled from a life sentence in California and came here to this institution to serve a natural life sentence.
The words of David Robert Gibbs describing his rehabilitation carry a special poignancy both for society and all self-help group members within the walls of Maryland institutions. Often termed a model inmate after being sentenced to the penitentiary in 1966, Gibbs rose within the ranks of the Jaycees until he was allowed outside the prison walls. Escorted only by other Jaycee members, he made frequent appearances before groups in the outside community, speaking on rehabilitation. While attending such a meeting at Perry Hall on the night of December 14, 1971, Gibbs escaped. Although public outcry was
using in a
great,
destructive
it
way
certainly
before,
indicated the need to carefully evaluate a man's self-professed rehabilitation. The Jaycee prison program is still impressive. To date, Gibbs is the first man of more than 500 to abuse the privilege of limited freedom.
Worthwhile program, and it's the best things that ever came into the penitentiary.
Really, I'm a president of one of the self-help groups here, and of all the members, we have a section of members. Some come to get out of the cells, some come because they want to meet people from the community, you know. But we have a problem with cats doing various things to help the community from within, you know, like on drugs and alcohol or what have you, and they only come for their self-satisfaction. I can say one good thing about the self-help groups, but first of all, let me say that they're not at all rehabilitative. I don't think so, personally. But one good thing, it does help a guy to get re-entered into the community by talking to and being with and around community persons who come in to attend the self-help meetings.
We do need people from the outside to come in to help us in many, many ways, because being here, the women are always forgotten. It's always the man is getting the help. And just because it's a small group of women, they don't think there ever exist, you see? So, all right, we have the drug program comes in, and the self-help, and we have ladies that's too in the place that wants to come in to help us. And if we had more people coming in that could meet us and see what we were, they wouldn't think that we were animals and dogs and vicious and all this sort of thing. And it would be so much better for ourselves, also for the public.
I think self-help groups, if they put to the purpose that for which they were intended, would be a lot more beneficial to the inmates in the institution. And I also think that if the administration and people in authority would become a little more aware of what's really happening with the self-help groups themselves, then the groups would receive a little more help than what they're really getting from the administration. But as of yet, I have yet to see this happen as far as my group is concerned in particular.
I think the inmate organizations could be more effective, you understand, that if it was taken more or less, not out of the self-help scheme, but if the division or the Department of Corrections, you understand, will put more emphasis on self-help organization through funds. Like, all programs are substantiated by our membership. Of course, our membership gets their money from the jobs that they work. And oftentimes, we don't have enough in our treasures, you understand, to run an effective program. I think that our self-help organization is aiding in rehabilitation and resocialization, you understand. Of course, you have a lot of old-style inmates, just like you got old-style guards, and they call it program. They get in organizations just to angle a way out. You know, hope that somebody from the outside will see them, wave a magic wand, and get the time cut or something like that. On the same token, you have people that's sincere and dedicated. They feel like they're doing something for themselves, but they get more enjoyment out of helping their brother, you understand, come through these institutions and merge back into society.
Quite often and quite correctly, a great deal of emphasis has been placed on the benefit given inmates by self-help programs inside the prison system. But it is obvious that outside members benefit as well, and there are indications that society as a whole benefits. Before 1962, the only constructive pressure that could be recruited by prison inmates seeking self-help programs came from isolated incidents of court action or rare legislators with the ability to realize that warehousing offenders would never solve the problem of crime. The Jaycees, for the first time, established real personal contact by offering offenders the tools to seek improvement for self and community through organization. So far, the program is still small, but its impact has been great.
Saturday and Sunday. See you all there.
Give me a ticket for an airplane. I ain't got time to take no fast train. Oh, the lonely days are gone. I'm coming home. Yeah, my baby, I wrote me a letter. I ain't got time to take no fast train. Fly my way to my baby again. Oh, the lonely days are gone. I'm coming home. Yeah, my baby, I wrote me a letter. You wrote me a letter. Said she couldn't live without me no more. Listen, Mr. Postman, got to get back to my baby once more. Anyway, I don't care how much I gotta spend. Find my way back to my baby again. Oh, the lonely days are gone. I'm coming home. Yeah, my baby, I wrote me a letter.